So in less than 48 hours after rapper Lecrae dropped his response to Kendrick Lamar shouting him out, rapper Dee-1 has now dropped his response to Kendrick Lamar also shouting him out on the same exact song, and the new song is called Call It Like It Is. Welcome back to the Voiceovers Podcast on 24K Logan. So in my last video, right, I actually had said that I wouldn't be surprised if Dee-1 was to give a response as well. And to take it a step further, I also said that I wouldn't be surprised if all three of them, being Kendrick Lamar, Lecrae, and Dee-1, of course, if all three of them had hopped on a track together and kind of preached the same message but went more in depth with it. Now, in this video, I'm not going to focus on the entire song or touch on every lyric from the song, but I want to at least touch on the lyrics that stood out the most to me and the ones that I think had the biggest message or the biggest meaning to it. So again, the name of the song is Call It Like It Is, right? And at the very beginning of the song, the first words that Dee-1 says is, "I don't care what these people think, I'm trying to make these people think." Basically saying, I don't care how these people feel about what I'm saying, I'm trying to open up their eyes, especially my community. I'm trying to open up their eyes to the poison and some of the toxicity that's being promoted to the youth through hip hop, right? And then in his first verse, he says, y'all done turned this culture trash. Y'all done turned this culture into trash. These so-called legends ain't no legends. I don't care if they sold millions. Are you hearing their message? So again, he didn't say any names specifically, but he was saying, I don't care how many records this legend or that legend sold. They're not really legends because they're promoting poison and toxicity in their music. They're not promoting a positive message. Then he goes on to say, poisoning our whole community, everybody hypnotized. Why you think nobody respect black people? No big surprise. Again, very big message, right? Basically saying, okay, well, if we don't respect ourselves, if we're promoting all these bad things in our music, as African American rappers, right? Talking about the community. If we're not showing self-respect for ourselves and speaking positive amongst ourselves in our music, how can we expect other races of people to respect us or take us serious? Then he goes on to say, and I love New Orleans, my city, but I love God way more. I don't care if none of y'all with me. Okay, now, again, big message, right? But I think the reason why he specifically mentioned New Orleans, well, Dee-1 is from New Orleans. And recently there were people who, of course, they were not happy about Kendrick Lamar being chosen to perform at the Super Bowl over Lil Wayne. And Dee-1 kind of had the same, not the same, but he had a different opinion, right? He was on the side of Kendrick deserves it, right? And people were calling him a sellout, saying all type of negative things towards him. But his thing was, as much as he loved Lil Wayne, he felt that Wayne's message wasn't as positive or wasn't as uplifting as Kendrick's. And I think that's why he had brought up New Orleans and how he loves them, but he loves God way more. So he don't care if they rocking with him or not at the end of the day because he has God. Then he goes on to say, we celebrate being stupid. Everybody's so gangster, but when you clocking for that white man, you be on your best behavior. In other words, saying we're so quick to bring each other down. I'm kind of interpreting what I believe he's saying, right? It's like he's saying we're so quick to bring each other down in our own community, but we're willing to cooperate and be cordial, be peaceful with the quote unquote white man or other races outside of the black community or outside of the African American community. And then now the verse that I'm about to read and the hook that I'm going to get into, these are the two parts of the song that stood out to me the most when he said, We getting pimped. What y'all want to do, guys? Your new single just dropped. Time to entertain us. New lies. Okay, so in other words, he's saying new single drop. He's being a little sarcastic, speaking from the perspective of what he deems to be a toxic rapper, it seems like, right? Or somebody who's not really for the culture. And he says, okay, well, it's time to entertain them with new lies. So being I guess a fake gangster, or just anything that's not going to uplift the community, right? And then the hook possibly meant more when he said, call it like it is, call it what it ain't, call it what you want. Nah, I ain't on that drink. I'm speaking from the soul, and I don't care who feel it, that hip hop is dead and y'all the ones that killed it. I don't care who feel it, that hip hop is dead and y'all the ones that killed it. So that was arguably the part of the song that stood out the most to me, because basically what I get out of that is Dee-1 is saying, okay, us as African Americans, no shade, no disrespect to the other ethnicities who are involved in hip hop and have contributed to hip hop, right? But us as African Americans, we are the ones who originated hip hop. Of course, hip hop started in the early 70s in the Bronx, New York, of course. And it was something that was predominantly African American. And we played arguably the biggest part, probably the biggest part in making it a worldwide phenomenon. And then you turn around, fast forward it, in recent years, it's like, okay, we have self-destructed. We are self-destructing ourselves as rappers and as a community, and we're doing it through our music. I think that's what Dee-1 is trying to say out of that. And overall for the entire song, it's kind of piggybacking and co-signing off of what Kendrick said in his song, which a lot of people believe is called Watch the Party Die, but I don't think there's been an official title for that song yet. Comment down below if there has been. And then, of course, Lecrae's song that he recently released. Dee-1 is basically co-signing off of both of their messages. He's co-signing off of both of their messages, and it's one of those things where it's like, kind of like I said in the last video, Dee-1 is letting Kendrick know, you have an ally, you have an alliance, I stand with you, I support your message. I might not agree with everything you say, but for the most part, I do approve of your message, and you wanting to, talking to Kendrick, of course, you wanting to promote more positivity and more uplifting through hip hop, through the music. And it seems like conscious rap is slowly but surely attempting to go into a renaissance, right? It's almost like conscious rap, political rap, or faith-based rap is trying to work its way into the mainstream, not necessarily for clout, not necessarily for finances and popularity and whatnot, but more so to bring back balance in hip hop. Again, this was something that I talked about in the Lecrae video. Balance, having balance in hip hop, right? Of course, every rapper is not going to be conscious or woke like Kendrick, like Lecrae, like Dee-1, like Tupac, whoever, right? But there has to be a balance. You can have your party rap and what I like to call, quote unquote, junk food, right? You can have that, every now and then. You can lay back, relax, just have a good time. But when there's negativity involved, when there is the glorification of violence involved, glorifying, degrading women, especially black women, anything that is tearing down the community or turning us against each other through the music, that has to be stopped. I mean, just keeping it 100, it has to be stopped at some point. Will it ever be stopped? I don't think so, but I do think that with rappers like Kendrick, with rappers like Lecrae, Dee-1. You have guys, especially Kendrick, you have these guys that have a big following or somewhat of a fan base, right? And the more that you have a fan base like theirs, you know, hearing these messages about positivity, about uplifting, not necessarily trying to force anything onto people, but making people aware that, okay, we need balance. There are things being talked about throughout hip hop that are toxic, that are turning us against each other, that are tearing us down more than uplifting us. And I mean, Kendrick, Lecrae, Dee-1, they're not the first guys in hip hop to talk about these things, right? But I think it's becoming more of a forefront now, or it's coming back into the forefront because, of course, the rappers before them that would talk about these things, like a Nas or somebody like that, yeah, they still have the respect and the longevity, but in terms of the recency, relevancy, if you will, they don't have it on the degree of a Kendrick Lamar, because of course Kendrick is hot right now off of the beef, and I mean, he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest rapper of his generation, or of the new era of hip hop, if you will. Definitely for the 2010s. That goes without saying. So the more you have a rapper like Kendrick Lamar pushing these things, promoting these things, I think it causes more awareness. And it really, I think the biggest thing of all for this is making people, especially people involved in hip hop, is making them really look themselves in a mirror and ask themselves, okay, what am I doing? Am I doing anything positive for the youth through my music? Or not just for the youth, for the community in general? Am I doing anything positive? Am I uplifting people, or am I tearing people down? Am I degrading women, or am I respecting women? Am I glorifying violence, or am I trying to lower the violence to a degree and keep the peace, if you will? And I appreciate things like this. I really do. Again, I like my party rap. I like to have fun and kick my feet up every once in a while and just say to hell with it, right? But again, there has to be balance. And when you have the junk food music and the quote unquote ratchet music and music that degrades women and glorifies violence, when that kind of overtakes or overshadows uplifting music, faith-based music, anything positive, right? When that overshadows it, and it overshadows it by a landslide, that's when it's becoming a problem. And I'm going to continue doing more coverage on this because, like I said in the last video, I don't think this is the end of this whole thing. I would not be surprised if Lecrae, Kendrick, and Dee-1 are all on a track together, whether that's on what a lot of people, including myself, anticipate to be Kendrick's next upcoming album, if that is a thing indeed coming soon, or if it's a single that's released sometime this year. That could definitely shake up the rap game, and I think it'll make a lot of headlines for sure, and it's going to get a lot of more conversation starting than what we have right now. But guys, I appreciate you so much for watching. I want to say thank you so much for the feedback and everything that y'all put forth into the last video that I uploaded. I didn't expect it to go crazy the way it did, so shout out to all of y'all. I will not let y'all down. We have plenty of content on the way, plenty of content, so just stay tuned. We've got y'all covered, and it's a blessing. I thank you all so much because we're moving closer to our goals, so shout out to you all. But thanks again so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and until next time, peace and love to everybody.